All right, welcome. It is Thursday, getting ready for Thursday night football. Week 3 is officially upon us tonight with Tennessee going up against Jacksonville. Another kind of boring Thursday night game, I suppose, but hell, it's football. And right away, we are just going to go into predictions for Week 3. Going through all of the lineups, everything there, some good plays, bad plays, the whole works. So, starting it off, again, as usual, it's myself versus 4th in inches, Chris Peterson, 2-0 versus 0-2. The way lineups are set initially here, I have a 65% win probability according to ESPN. But taking a look at 4th in inches, currently, he's got Cam Newton in his lineup to start quarterback. McCaffrey, obviously still number 1 overall pick after coming off a rough game last week, but no real concerns there. He's going to come back against a less than mediocre Arizona team. Going to do just fine. Mark Ingram's looking to continue his season. Mike Evans against just a terrible New York Giants team, but with Winston, Tampa Bay has not looked very good. Mike Evans has had 2 rough games, one being illness-related, week 1, with only 1 catch, but last week, no real excuse on a Thursday night, I suppose, unless he was still feeling those effects. It's just a struggle, but we will wait and see if he starts breaking through and becoming the receiver that we all know him to be. Adam Thielen, Brandon Cooks, Jared Cook, the Rams D, and of course Greg Zuerlein rounding that squad out as he's still waiting for AJ Green to come back from his injury to hopefully plug into his lineup here later in the season. Tom Brady on the bench, I'm guessing, especially against a struggling Jets team. Tom Brady will be put in the place of Cam Newton, as Cam Newton has had a 5-point week and a 12-point week, I believe. So Tom Brady's put up basically 3 touchdowns, I think, in both starts so far this year. So I would assume Tom Brady's going in as his starter to really make sure, hey, you get those points you need from your quarterback and not kind of that gamble shot with Cam Newton. For myself here, Lamar Jackson, number 2 scoring quarterback, I believe, maybe number 1 in our league with our scoring system. Currently going in and going up against the either currently 1 or 2 quarterback in Kansas City. So that'll be a pretty cool game there, just seeing the quarterbacks go at each other. Obviously different styles of play, everything along those lines. But Lamar is poised to have another solid game. Kansas City's defense, nothing special. And expect it to be fairly high scoring, as with Kansas City, you basically always expect that. So a lot of opportunity there to either get on the ground or throw it, which Lamar has done both so far this season. So be pretty interesting. Le'Veon Bell, who knows there? Jets are really struggling offensively, defensively, it doesn't really matter. But we'll wait and see if he can bust something out, make a big play, make something happen. Dalvin Cook has looked really good going against a struggling Oakland team. I expect another good game out of Dalvin there, especially when Minnesota does not want Kirk Cousins throwing the football pretty much ever if it could be prevented. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Austin Eckler making his first start in this league this year, so he's had back-to-back phenomenal games. I don't know how I don't start him right now. Going against a questionable Houston defense. T.Y. Hilton, Kenny Golladay continues to impress. Delaney Walker, Panthers defense, and Dan Bailey rounds it out. Josh Jacobs is going on the bench for now. He is questionable with his groin injury. We will have to wait and see what happens there, but Jarvis Landry, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore continue on the bench, and Njoku takes a seat for the first time in Week 3 here, as he's actually out with his concussion protocol after going out early in the first quarter of Monday night's games. So, with that said, McCaffrey's poised to come back, have a solid game, pretty much no matter what. I don't see him only being held to 5 points again. He'll easily get up into that 15-point range. If he gets into the end zone a couple times, it'll be more than that. But I expect him around that 15 to 20 range. Mark Ingram will stay around that dozen mark. Again, just kind of being utilized. Mike Evans, I think he's got more opportunity against the Giants, but I still just don't see a big game. I'd be surprised if he hits double digits. Adam Thielen, again, Kirk Cousins is just a huge question mark. So touchdowns are hard to come by, especially with him throwing the football. But if Adam Thielen can, get that 5-6 catches for about 60 or 70 yards, he'll be all right around that 10-point mark. Brandon Cooks should have a solid game against Cleveland. And then the Rams D and Greg Zuerlein should actually have a good opportunity against, just a not very impressive Baker Mayfield with the way he's controlling the game right now and kind of panics all over. And Rams have a good D. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams stick around that double-digit theme with their game this week. As I mentioned, Lamar Jackson's going to be putting up another big game. I have a feeling, 25 plus without a problem there, just as the game's going to be moving, pretty fast paced, a lot of possessions, a lot of opportunity. Le'Veon Bell, hopefully he can sneak in the end zone, but, against a tough New England team. But still, I think he's going to get a lot of just opportunity on the garbage like he did on Monday night, essentially. A terrible game, but 10 catches, 60 yards on the ground, 60 yards in the air. Still gave 15 fantasy. I won't be surprised if he does something similar to that again. Dalvin Cook, going to have another big game, 20 plus. Austin Eckler is going to continue his catches and touches and everything along those lines. Going to have a good game. T.Y. Hilton, always kind of a wild card, but going against kind of an unknown Atlanta team right now. You don't really know what kind of team they are, right? Struggled against Minnesota in week 1. Came back against, Philly and really struggled for basically 2.5 or 3 quarters there and then kind of put it together. But I don't really know what to expect there. Hopefully T.Y. can just get the targets that he needs. Galladay's been impressive. And against, again, just kind of a questionable Philly team right now. I could see another solid game. I think I'm really happy with this lineup. Really think there's a lot of opportunity there. So with that being said, I am taking myself, again, to go 3-0. And For the Ninja is going to have a tough start here, going 0-3. But I expect myself to get up into that 125 to 130 point range again with a few big games. And then the Sporting Cast going with 4th and Inches just struggling here. Going to end with, I would say, 89 points. So 89 to 128 is what I'll predict this game to be, with myself being the winner, going to 3-0. So that is game 1 of week 3. Nutlock versus Jailbait is week 2. 2 1-1 teams going at it. Everybody's, hooing and hawing about how they're sitting for playoffs right now, but a lot of season left. 2 1-1 teams, 54% win probability with the current lineups going to Nutlock. Jailbait, has had 2 actually pretty solid weeks, considering even after I make fun of his team. So might start gaining that respect here going forward, but we will see how this is shaking out for week 3. Carson Wentz has had solid games back-to-back, just really slow starts in both of them, though. So it's tough to do that, but going against a questionable defense there in Detroit, I think Wentz will have an opportunity to have another basically 20-point outing there. Zeke against Miami. This is one of those, are you drooling and licking your chops over it? Or are you kind of concerned that, hey, if Zeke does not produce early, is he going to be out of the game, partway through? Because, hey, Miami is Miami so far this year, as everybody knows, that, hey, we don't want to risk any injury. We don't want this. We don't want that, right? So I personally go on the mindset of, hey, if they're up that much, in the late 3rd quarter, early 3rd quarter, whatever it is, that you're really limiting Zeke's action or, your star's action, well, that means there was a lot of opportunity for Zeke to get into the end zone and make big plays. So I think Zeke is going to be just fine, easily get over 100 yards and at least 1 score out of that deal. So I see Zeke right around, easily that 20 to 25 point mark there for Nutlock this week. It's a big thing. Kerryon Johnson, no idea what's happening there. Detroit's just a fucking mess. So Kerryon continues to be a wild card. Might give you 5, might give you 15. You don't really know what's happening there. Antonio Brown's going to look good, assuming no other weird legal stuff that sidelines him. If he's in and playing, he's going to have another solid game. I mean, I see another 9 to 10 targets from Tom Brady there against, again, a just tough Jets team that's struggling, doesn't really know what's going on. So I'm going to have a lot of action early and a lot of opportunity. I don't see New England's defense going back-to-back pick sixes again to keep that offense off the field. You never know. But I think New England's offense is just going to have a lot of opportunity again with another easy game essentially this week. And not going to doubt it if they put up another 38, 41 points, something along those lines, and just really bury the Jets early. Odell Beckham going up against a tough Rams D. I can hate on him all I want, right? Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, not really a fan, but let's be real. He gets the targets. He has awesome grabs. If you saw that sick one-handed grab down the sideline on Monday night, that was impressive as he continues to show us pretty much every few games he makes some kind of phenomenal catch. So he's going to get his no matter what. Sammy Watkins, high targets even last week. Points didn't show for it, but, Kansas City throws the ball. Mahomes is throwing the ball 40 times. Fortunately, Mahomes is on the other side of this one, which it could go one way or the other. Either Sammy Watkins kind of limits whatever Patrick Mahomes does because he's getting thrown to quite a bit and getting in the end zone, or Mahomes goes with one of his other 4 weapons, essentially, that he's throwing out: Robinson, Harmon, Damian Williams, Shady McCoy, Travis Kelce, whatever it is, right? Then that's kind of a two-for whammy. It can go one way or the other with that matchup. Mark Andrews, if he plays, he's a phenomenal play, right? He's best tight end in the league right now and continues to impress. On the bench here, nobody that's really worth mentioning that he would even plug and play for now. That's going to be his starting lineup, it looks like. I like the team. Looking at jailbait, you got Mahomes, stud. You don't even really have to talk about him there. Marlon Mack has an opportunity to, again, week 1, super impressive. Week 2, pretty dud-like. But I think he's going to have one of those mediocre weeks this week. 80 yards on the ground and maybe 2 or 3 catches to keep moving forward here. But so he'll give you a decent amount of points. Derrick Henry plays tonight against Jacksonville, and hey, he's had back-to-back weeks with a touchdown, at least one touchdown. 2 in week 1, 1 rushing, 1 receiving, and another rushing touchdown last week. Not a lot of scoring happening on Thursday night games, and they're kind of weird, slow-paced, and actually I see him getting in the end zone again. Not a huge fan, but he just, he's going to get the goal line work. Tennessee's going to put up at least a couple touchdowns, and I think he's going to steal one of them and have an okay week again. So just getting in the end zone. Nelson Agholor, Deshaun Jackson out, Alshon Jeffrey out, questionable, doubtful. I'm not really sure what's kind of going on in the news there. So a quick plug and play was the third wideout, and now going to jump in as basically the number 1 option, whether that's a good or bad thing, but it's against a Detroit team that has a lot of opportunity there for the receivers to get in the holes there and make some plays. So Nelson Agholor could be a good little plug and play guy. Juju Smith, Rudolph, no idea, right? Came in, seemed to do okay, I guess. Nothing really impressive, but really big question mark there coming in with a backup quarterback. At the moment, loses a lot of value. Not having the greatest start to the season with Big Ben, even with him, but we will have to wait and see what happens there. It's against San Francisco that has had a big win and kind of a disappointing week 1. So don't really know what to expect from them. I don't even want to take a guess at that. And then Robinson hoping for a repeat performance. Let's be real. Probably not going to repeat, but I do like the hookup of Mahomes and Robinson opportunity here going in. So we got a couple just new starters here with Nelson Agholor and Demarcus Robinson coming in on this team. So a couple unknowns there with different injuries, plays, backup quarterbacks, receivers going from 3 to 1. You don't really know how that coverage is going to look on those guys after their weeks last week. So Josh Gordon's taking a seat on his bench, which is for the first time this year. He's running 3 receivers instead of Justin Jackson, which I think is a great call. And we'll have to wait and see there. New England's got an opportunity for a lot of points, but Rex Burkhead and Josh Gordon are on the ground are on the bench rather than playing those. Hey, it can go to anybody, right? And you're just fingers crossed that it's your guy. So I get it. I'm not gonna fault anybody for making that idea there, but a lot of questions there with Jailbait. Nutlock, I think he's got a little bit more of a lock and consistency factor there. You don't really have the big bang wow factor with Jailbait right now. So even though he's had a couple good weeks, right, back to back, Matt, unfortunately, I'm going to have to take you to lose for the third week in a row. I don't think you're going to be able to keep up again with Nutlock's kind of powerhouse team here. So Nutlock's going to take the win, 117 to 108, and Jailbait is going to fall to 1-2, and Nutlock continues after an 0-1 start, winning in the next 2 weeks. We got Bench Points Matter Ergo, blistering 0-2 start. By far the lowest scoring team. I believe he's been the lowest scoring team back-to-back weeks. And so here he is with a 51% win probability with the current lineup set against Titanic Swim Team Brandon. Baker Mayfield, I think he's going to have a rough game, maybe a dozen points against LA, and just, again, doesn't really look good. Kamara going to have a decent bounce back. I mean, he can't do any worse than he did last week, and I think he's not going to have a breakout game by any means, but, dozen to 15 points and be pretty happy with that. James Conner is supposed to be in and playing with that backup quarterback. All eyes on Conner. He's going to get a lot of opportunity, and I think he's going to bust something out for something decent against that San Francisco D. Have a play probably, at least one play over 35 yards. Whether it goes for a score or not, I'm not sure, but I could definitely see a play, catch or run that goes for 35 plus for Conner on Sunday afternoon. So he's going to have a pretty solid game. Montgomery's looking for kind of just more action and stuff with Chicago on Monday night, going against a not so good Washington team, but again, that offense has got to prove that they can do something. Tyler Lockett's going to look good against New Orleans. Going to get probably 10 plus targets there. John Ross, I think his luck is going to run out this week against Buffalo's D. Buffalo's D has looked fairly decent so far this year, and Cincinnati's gotten kind of lucky with just big plays after big plays, and I don't see that happening with Dalton at quarterback. And John Ross got lucky with nothing until late in the game last week. So I think this one's going to be a tough one with John Ross the third, and he's going to end up putting up only about 4 or 5 points this week because he's not going to hit his big play. George Kittle's looking to prove himself. I think he's going to have a big week, though. San Francisco hasn't really utilized him as much as we all thought that they were going to, but this week he gets in the end zone and has a decent bounce-back week there. Nothing really. So a few injuries and whatnot on the bench here for Bench Points Matter. So a couple decent outings, I have a feeling, from this team, but a couple not so good outings from this team either. So points are going to be worth every bit, and I don't think he'll break triple digits again this week. But looking at Brandon's team here, Aaron Rodgers, I don't even know what to say about him right now. Denver's game, I think they scored around the 21-point mark, as a team again. So Rodgers, maybe throws for 2 touchdowns, 300 yards, and just kind of has a pretty boring quarterback outing. Won't hurt you, won't win you the game, but, gets points on the board. David Johnson, this Arizona team looking questionable. I'll go right with Fitz, too. I think Fitz outscores David Johnson again for the third week. Actually, I think he tied him week 1. But I think he's going to outscore him this week. So David Johnson's going to be sitting around that high single digits, 8 or 9 points. Larry Fitz is going to get up into that 15-point mark. And I just don't like this Arizona offense right now. Nick Chubb, not going to do a whole lot. Glimpse of greatness on Monday night. But, short week, I guess, going to Sunday night. I guess you'd call it a short week. But he really just didn't do much, and it was against the Jets. out of everybody. So I think he's going to struggle, stay 60 yards, maybe a couple catches, but 60 yards on the ground, no touchdown, and he's only going to sit around that 8-9 point mark as well. So this running back core has got a lot to do. John Brown's going to have a solid game. He's looking pretty good so far this year, and against Cincinnati, everything. I think he's going to have another good opportunity and good outing this week. Stefon Diggs, same with actually I take Thielen over Diggs at the moment and everything, because Diggs just, I know he had that touchdown called back, but other than that, he was pretty much, other than the big touchdown play down the middle of the field that should have been intercepted essentially, and his stupid play that he did, taking off his helmet and whatnot, he hasn't really been looked at all that much by Kirk Cousins, and even if he is, Cousins can't really get him the ball. So unless he gets in the end zone, I don't see much use on Diggs right now, and he's not very impressive. So I have to wait and see, but I think unless he gets in the end zone, it's going to be a really rough week. He's not going to give you the 8 catches for 120 yards with no scores to make it a solid week. Evan Ingram's got plenty of opportunity in what's going to probably shape up to be a questionable, ugly game with the Giants and Tampa Bay. Vikings D is poised to have a good game, and Tucker's got a lot of opportunity with a lot of offensive possessions coming his way on Sunday against Kansas City. Joe Mixon's sitting on the bench for the second straight week. O.J. Howard as well. So 2 guys, right, that were drafted early in him. Joe Mixon is healthy, so possibly going to plug and play him, but I know there's not a lot of high hopes there either. So pretty impressive here. I believe it was a second rounder, or second round, maybe third round, I guess. Joe Mixon, however that shaped up with his running backs. And like a 6th round, and O.J. Howard is on the bench with Evan Ingram in the tight end spot. So pretty questionable, but I believe this is going to be a low-scoring kind of battle here for these two teams. And I just would think there's possibly, I don't even know who I want to pick here, but I'm going to end up taking Titanic Swim Team. Is going to take this low-scoring battle for the win. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I don't see it shaping out, but it might just work out there for them that Titanic Swim Team takes the win, 91 to 82. Just not a lot of points to go by here. So one big outing by any player on either team is probably going to be the difference here and win this week for their team. But Brandon gets to 2-1, even with a struggling squad. 2 girlies, 1 cup. You can't touch this. 1-1 versus 2-0. Current lineup. Squinty is a 59% win probability going into this week with 113 points projected, which is pretty legit. So Prescott's looked really good going against the Miami team. Only going to look better, I am sure, unless Zeke can just tallies everything up and Prescott doesn't even get an opportunity to throw the ball, but don't see that happening. Prescott's going to throw for 3 touchdowns and do just fine there. He's going to have another solid week. Gurley, it's always interesting, but going against a Cleveland team, so we'll see what he gets for touches, but I would assume he'll sit around that 15 touches again. I don't know if he gets into the end zone or not this week, but I think he's going to end, depending on if he gets in that end zone, 12 to 18 points. Aaron Jones was looking really good against Minnesota, so I expect that to kind of continue through, and Aaron Jones is going to rush probably close to that 100-yard mark again, and more than likely get a score in along with it, unless Jamal Williams takes that from him, but he's going to have that opportunity. Chris Carson, I don't know, not high on him. Rashad Penny got quite a bit of work last week. He had a big play that stole a touchdown away from Carson, and so he's just an unknown for me. I think he's going to, not have the greatest game. I got your fingers crossed, but, 70 or 80 yards on the ground with no scores this week is what I see from Carson. Cooper Kupp's going to have opportunity against Cleveland because the Rams' offense is going to get a lot of possessions this game, I feel like, with Cleveland going 3 and out or turning the ball over. So I think Cooper Kupp and pretty much all of the Rams' receivers here are going to have good opportunity as well. So I see a solid game there. And Calvin Ridley's looked like a stud. And against Indy this week, going number 2 of Julio, he's going to have another 20-plus point week with Travis Kelce having, another solid game with the way that they're throwing the ball. And Kelce just continues getting, an increase in targets so far. So I see him getting targeted 10 or 11 times this week, converting probably 8 of those. If he doesn't get a score, I would be surprised. But he's going to get a lot of targets and a lot of receptions this week. And the Cowboys' defense against Miami, it's probably the best play since Miami has a tough time. I think they've scored 10 points this year. So after being shut out last week. Terry McLaurin, Marquise Brown, Mecole Hardman, DK Metcalf, a lot of good receivers sitting on this bench with Mike Williams as well. So, but you can't really sit the current receiver squad that this guy has. So I believe the lineup will probably sit as it is now, but we'll have to wait and see what happens here. You can't touch this. Russell Wilson's going to be looking for a good game here against New Orleans, for an opportunity for, 3 total touchdowns and decent yardage here, 275, 300 yards throwing against New Orleans this week. Damian Williams, just a huge question mark there. I don't really like this running back core to be played unless you absolutely have to. So I don't know. Not a huge fan right now. It's a throw-first offense with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. And so I believe it's just going to kind of turn into a scoring match here. And it's a wild card, and you're just rolling the dice with who's going to get that touchdown score or carry opportunity between the 3 running backs there in Kansas City. James White, I think he's going to be a good play against the Jets. I know said the same thing last week against Miami. Did end up with a touchdown, only 9.5 points in our league, I believe it was. But he's going to get opportunity again, being up and getting some garbage time there no matter what. If he doesn't do well early, he's going to still come out with at least 10 or 12 points. Phillip Lindsay, really questionable there against a tough defensive team with Green Bay with the way they played the last 2 weeks. So I would say Lindsay, unless he busts out a big play, is going to struggle this week. DeAndre Hopkins is going to bounce back, have a good game if Deshaun Watson can go this week. I know he's questionable, but I think no matter who's in there for the quarterback, DeAndre is going to get a lot of targets this week to make up for last week. Mari Cooper is going to look good. Like I said, Dak's going to throw for 3 touchdowns or so. And I'm assuming 1 should go to Cooper no matter what. Darren Waller looking good. And I think we'll be... I can't even think of his name. Anyway, Cars. Kind of safety net there against Minnesota. Especially late. Probably get a lot of dump down, a lot of garbage play there. And the Patriots D is going to be looking for another good outing against the Jets. I'm not going to say they're going to score 37. But I don't doubt that they... put up 15 or so points with between sacks, picks, and just points allowed. So, gonna look pretty good. Nothing on the bench here that I would think about playing over anybody else. I think this is gonna be a fun matchup. Actually, a lot of potential here with a lot of good different guys. You can't touch this. His running back core is just scary, right? Unless a big play happens. I think 2 Gurley's 1 Cup just kind of has the edge here with just the consistent factor and the opportunities that they're going to have. So I'm taking Squinty with the win here at 118 to 104. You can't touch this. Has been winning a lot of games here just by playing teams that just aren't offensively putting fantasy points up. So unfortunately, I think Gurley's team is just going to put up too many points for you to compete with. So Gurley goes to 2-1, and Jason will fall to 2-1 as well. Here we go, another 2-0 versus a 0-2 team. Scoregasms and Dingle Gary with Scoregasms with a 52% win probability with their current lineup. Kyler Murray just kind of getting better and better as the 2 weeks have gone on here. Saquon Barkley going to have plenty of opportunity to run all over that Tampa Bay team. It's pretty much just wondering, are they going to give him the ball? Daniel Jones, I believe, is starting over Eli this week. So I think they're going to rely on Saquon quite a bit, and he'll get 20 plus carries without an issue, and probably get another half dozen targets there. Leonard Fournette going tonight against Tennessee. This really sets a bar here for the whole week for this team. Fournette, I had high hopes, but right now, until he proves something, I can't rely on him, and I'm just going to say he's going to have another rough week. But Emmanuel Sanders going against, again, that tough secondary in Green Bay for the last couple weeks, coming off a phenomenal game last week against the Bears, though. So I think Denver is just kind of in don't give a shit mode, and is going to throw the ball with Flacco. They got Flacco, and they're going to use him. So I think Sanders, looking really good so far this year, is going to get another dozen targets or so from Flacco and have plenty of opportunity, end zone or not. Sanders is going to put up a good game. Julio's going to look good. It's just you hope Ryan can put it together early in a game so you don't have to sit there and pull your hair out until the fourth quarter to see Julio put up some points. But I have a feeling Julio's going to have a solid game again, and it's going to be solid throughout the entire game. He's going to get catches scattered throughout the entire game, get a touchdown early, maybe one late, stuff like that. So it should take a little bit of stress off. Scoregasms there, just as he'll get consistent scoring throughout the game. Tyrell Williams, this is going to be a game he does not get into the end zone against Minnesota, but is going to get high enough volume target that makes him a great play, and see a floor of about 8 points here, even if he doesn't get into the end zone. Ball's got to go somewhere, and Tyrell Williams is going to go in his hands, or have a lot of opportunity to go in his hands throughout that game. Bills D against Cincy, I really like it, and Butker has been a great play. Edelman's on the bench here, which again, not really surprised with the players he has, along with Tyler Boyd. That was an early selection. So a couple early rounders on the bench here for Scoregasm as well, along with Kenyon Drake, which nobody blames him there. And still just kind of waiting to see how they want to use Singletary there in Buffalo. And don't blame him for waiting on that. Looking at Dinglegary, Deshaun Watson looks like he must be a for sure go this week. So good news there for Watson against the Chargers team. It likes to just throw the ball and move. So he'll get plenty of opportunity. Should have a pretty solid week. I wouldn't mind, or I don't doubt Murray and Watson kind of cancel each other out this week. With the way it's going to look. Devontae Freeman looking to do something this season. Just been terrible. Indy's defense has looked halfway decent, and Devontae Freeman's just looked terrible. So it's getting to the point that you might want to just take a seat with him, and you can't really play anybody in his place, I guess. So you got to ride it out right now or make a big trade. So Devontae Freeman is going to continue to struggle. I'm going to make the bold statement that he ends with less than 5 points this week, as anything Atlanta does is going to be through the air. Sony Michel, going to have a lot of opportunity this week again against the Jets. Had a solid outing last week against Miami, so I see something similar there. End zone or not, I'm not sure, but he's going to get the volume. He's going to get the touches. He's going to get that opportunity. Devontae Adams going to get another dozen targets. Going to have a big week. Going to get in the end zone. Going to be one of the 2 touchdowns Rodgers throws. Michael Thomas gets Teddy Two Gloves as a starting quarterback now against Seattle. Seattle's defense is not what it used to be. Teddy Two Gloves, hey, he's been in the league quite a few years. Was a starter. Was looking promising. So I see Thomas still getting double-digit targets, if not double-digit receptions in this game, as Bridgewater knows his hands, knows his route running ability, and is just going to be able to fall on Michael Thomas to make those easy throws, make that separation, and put Teddy in some of that comfort zone, especially early. So, and then that just gives Michael Thomas, and that's what he's there, is yards after catch potential. Keenan Allen, questionable, but I guarantee he plays. This is pretty typical for Keenan Allen, just to be questionable for a while until a decent injury happens mid-year or so, early to mid-year. But so he's tweaked right now, not surprised. TJ Hawkinson is going to have that middle type of ground game, I believe. Phenomenal week 1, crappy week 2. he's going to end with probably those 4 catches for 40 yards or so this week. So we'll have to wait and see there. And nobody essentially to put in off the bench for Dingle Gary. I love Dingle Gary's receiving core still to this day, but that running back core cannot do anything right now. And even though he was my preseason favorite, I cannot take Dingle Gary. Scoregasms goes to 3-0. Dingle Gary 0-3 by a score of 124 for Scoregasms and a 101. Just because of that receiving core putting up some points along with Deshaun Watson to get into those triple digits. But 101 for Dingle Gary, dropping to 0-3. Disappointing. But, hey, preseason is preseason, and you got to be realistic with what's been happening here kind of throughout. So, there you have it. Nothing fancy this week. Just trying to make sure I get this in. Getting really busy with everything. I'm going to start being on some trips and everything, so these might get shorter, might get dumber, if that's even possible. But, it is what it is. I still want to get them in on, basically Tuesday to Thursday in that time frame. So everybody can hopefully take a listen, take a watch, whatever it is that you do. I downloaded the software. Like I said, I want to get it going. I just probably won't have the time to fuck around with it here in the next few weeks, but we'll wait and see. Maybe I get lucky. So, reminder, Livin' La Vida Loca is going to take a win over 4th and Inches. Nutlock over Jailbait. Bench Points Matter is going to lose to Titanic Swim Team. 2 Girlies, 1 Cup over You Can't Touch This. And Scoregasms over Dingle Gary for my predictions this week. Gone 3-2 the last 2 weeks. Maybe keep it going. Maybe slip in that 4-1 here going into week 3. As some roles are being a little bit more defined and some roles still just questionable, right? Getting 10, 12 targets in a game and then only 2, or getting 25 carries and only 2, or 5 carries and then 17. You just don't really know what's happening with some guys, but roles are becoming a little bit more defined. So we'll have to see what happens. Hope you guys are all watching the Thursday night game. If you can, on NFL Network here tonight to hopefully root on anybody that you have planned. Again, feel free, kick something out in that group message, write something on the message board here. Let's try to figure out a time that, plan something on a Sunday or something like that we can all get together for the noon and possibly 3 o'clock games, get some drinks, get some food, and be able to chill and hang out as a league. So with that said, enjoy football, fellas. Enjoy your time, and I will talk to you next week.